welcome back once again. Really excited. I've got a good friend also from Pullman, Lindsey Todd from Guild Mortgage Company. Lindsey's a loan officer at Guild Mortgage Company at their Bellevue branch. She's been in the mortgage industry for 10 years and has worked with clients ranging from first-time homebuyers to seasoned investors. Lindsey, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
This is exciting to have you here. This is excellent. Can you give us a little bit of a background on the Guild Mortgage?
Yeah, so Guild is a company that is based out of San Diego. We've actually been in business for over 50 years, which in this day and age is pretty unheard of for a privately held mortgage company. And then Guild, since it was in San Diego, they just a few years ago started moving up here into the Pacific Northwest, and in the next few years they'll be growing substantially, going more nationwide, which is something we're really excited about. I feel pretty fortunate to work in our Bellevue office because we have our processing, our underwriting, and our funding is all done in-house, which is a huge benefit to me and my clients because I have a lot of control over the transaction, and if there's an issue, I can just walk down the hall and talk to my underwriter instead of calling somebody a state away who I've never even met. So it's pretty good. We have a good team atmosphere, and Guild's a great place to work, so it's good.
That makes such a difference having everything in-house where you can...
It really does.
Really go up there and get a fire put out really quick.
It's huge, yes. It's a big benefit.
Excellent. What is something all buyers should know about purchasing in this current market?
Well, as I'm sure you know, it's really competitive right now. There's a very low inventory, and it's super important, more than ever, to be pre-approved by a lender before you start shopping for houses. Because when you find a house that your family loves and you're dying to get it, you want to make sure you have your financing in line so that way you can put in an offer quick and move quick.
What's something you do a little bit different to get those particular offers accepted? I know it's a challenge for buyers right now when they're competing.
Well, we actually, at Guild, we just rolled out a new program that's called our Homebuyer Express program, which is something really cool. We basically guarantee the closing. So the files are pre-underwritten, so when an offer is made, we have a little certificate with your offer that is signed by our branch manager and is myself, the loan officer, pretty much guaranteeing the closing. And we're putting our money where our mouth is. Yeah. And so a lot of sellers see that, and there's so much fallout now with offers, and you don't want to waste your time and you want to sell your house. So when you get an offer that a lender's guaranteeing it, that it's going to close, it's a really big selling point for people. And you want to guarantee a quick close too, which is another benefit to having everything done in-house. We can do things quickly and get things done so buyers can move in.
Yeah, it's got to be such a comfort for sellers because about last year 50% of transactions got to escrow and they didn't close, and a lot of it was underwriting stuff, so having that promise has got to be huge.
It's a nightmare, yeah. Well, and it is huge. It's really important to be able to work out any kinks in terms of the buyer's income or employment or assets prior to moving forward. You know, of course, if there's an issue that comes up with an appraisal or title or something like that that's unforeseen before they pick up the property, there's nothing we can do, but it alleviates a big part of any problem that could come up, having that pre-approval.
Nice.
So.
Let's see, what is one of the most common questions you get when you hear from people that you're a loan officer?
Definitely the number one question I get is, what are interest rates right now? People love to ask that question, and it's hard because there really isn't an exact answer. There's so many different things that go into interest to getting an interest rate. Your credit score, your loan to value, what the property type is, and I think people are really misled because they'll hear, you know, on the radio 3% interest rates, but there's so much fine print behind that number that it's good to just look into it and talk to a lender to see what really your interest rate could be at.
I have that happen all the time where clients are, well, I was on Zillow and I saw an interest rate for 3.25%, stuff like that. So how do you coach them up on that?
Well, you really just have to, it's all about educating your clients and making sure that they understand, you know, and I'll pull up ads sometimes with my clients when they say, why is my interest rate at 4.5% when according to Quicken it should be 2.5%? And I'll pull up for them, you know, let's look at where they're getting that interest rate, and then let's look at your personal situation and see why this interest rate is where it's at. In Guild, we're super competitive, so you know, we don't really have that issue a lot with people having a problem with their interest rate once they understand why it's where it's at. So it's all about educating people.
And it seems like the paperwork has really picked up in the last 2 years, where in the past, you know, you didn't need as much stuff to come in, and now it's like they need to document everything. How are you handling that?
Absolutely. Well, it's hard for somebody who purchased their first home 10 years ago and they're buying their second house and they're, we're asking for their blood type, and people get, a little flustered with having to track large deposits into their bank account, or they maybe have a small deduction on their tax return and we need extensive documentation to show what that is. But it's just the market right now, and it's just the way that investors are. A lot of investors got really burned because loans were approved that maybe shouldn't have, and so now they're just doing their due diligence, probably above and beyond, to make sure that these are good loans and that we have everything documented. But like I said, I really think it's just important to educate people, when you do start the home buying process, that listen, it's going to be, there are a lot of hoops to jump through, but I'm going to ask everything up front from you so that way we can alleviate a lot of the stress and we don't have any last minute running around. So it's just the industry standard right now, unfortunately. So
what does that first meeting look like between you and the buyer? Do they come into the office? Do you go meet them at Starbucks?
Typically I do like for them to come to the office because I have my computer there, all my resources, and it's nice for them to see where their loan is going to be handled. Buying a house is usually someone's biggest transaction in their life, and they want to know, what does this office look like? Where am I sitting and what am I doing? And it's good to be able to go over everything all at one time and do that. And then usually always meet at the office first. Yeah.
Okay. And then what are your thoughts on interest rates towards the end of the year? I mean, there you go. Your first question you get from everybody, I'm asking
exactly.
Back to you. Do you think they're going to go up? I mean, are buyers on the fence waiting to see what they're going to do?
No, really. No, buyers are not having any problem with the interest rates as they are. Historically, they're extremely low. They're lower right now than they were even 2 months ago. So interest rates are kind of staying lower, but it's just all based off the economy, and there's so many different things that the interest rates are based off of. And when the economy's not going so great, interest rates go lower because they want people to borrow more money. So I haven't had a problem with any of my clients on the edge because of interest rates. Of course, if you're going to refinance, it's a little bit different because you're trying to lower your payment as much as possible. So
are you still seeing people refinance, or did majority of the people already do it?
Most people did it. There are people now who usually have a first and second and they want to refinance to get that all-in-one loan, but for the most part, refinances have really slowed down.
Are you seeing anybody get out of arms or bad loans that they had in the past right now to refinance, or is most of that already taken care of?
That's kind of already taken care of.
Okay.
Yeah, most people have already got themselves out of that loan, and they're in more. I don't think I've done an ARM in a really long time unless it's a jumbo, because 30-year fixed rates right now are so great, they just want to lock in. So
when they're starting the pre-approval process, what kind of stuff do you need to collect from them?
So the basics are pay stubs, 2 years tax returns, 2 years W-2s, and most recent 2 months bank statements. But of course every client's different. If you're self-employed, I'm going to need your business returns, or if you have a bunch of rental properties, I'm going to need your mortgage statements, and everything's a little bit different, but generally those are the upfront documents that a lender is going to ask for.
I want to ask you a little bit about Eastside Funding. I know you do some work with them, and I'm really interested. I mean, there's a lot of people. I'm doing some foreclosure and REO stuff, and people are always asking, how do we get these hard money loans? How do we buy these stuff at auction? So I work with a company called Vestis and Eastside Funding. They're kind of one and of the same in a way. Vestis does the research on the properties that are going into auction, and then Eastside Funding is the actual hard money lender on it. So basically what I do for them is, if you're going to purchase a property and hold on to it as a rental, or if you're going to hold on to it, move into it, then I'll pre-approve you in order for them to lend you the hard money. They want to know you have an exit strategy out of it. So it's basically, you go to meetings, you kind of get educated on it, and I would advise anybody who's interested in buying a foreclosure to go to the auction for the first time, not with your heart set on a certain property that's going, because you want to take it in. It's kind of an overwhelming experience, I think, and so going and experiencing it for the first time without any pressure on yourself is a good idea. But there are a ton of different options right now. As you know, there's a lot of short sales, a lot of foreclosures, and it's a good time to swoop in and get a property at a great price. Yeah, those auctions are just incredible, Lindsey.
Yeah.
I mean, you go there and We went 2 years ago for the first time. It was just pouring down rain, and then there's just a guy that's the trustee just over there quietly reading the address of the property, and no one's bidding on it. Then you got people bidding over here, and then to show them the money you have, I mean, people are taking their jackets and showing them all these cashier's checks. I mean, it's just the most sketch thing I've ever seen.
No, I can see why you'd feel that way.
Yeah.
And it is outside the courthouse, right next to the jail, so you know you get some characters, but it's not when you go. I go every Friday, and so I'm pretty comfortable with it now, but it's definitely a different experience. The first time I went, I was a little taken back.
Yeah, you need an expert with you that's doing it all the time.
Well, you kind of look around like, are these people seriously buying houses? But they are, and a lot of people do it, and you get some good deals, and it's a good way to go about it. It's just another avenue.
And then some of these loans, I mean, they loan up almost to 100%, right?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
so if you're going to, and every hard money lender is going to be different, but if you're going to, with Eastside Funding at least, purchase a property and hold on to it as a rental, then they'll lend you up to 100% of the cost.
Excellent.
Yeah. So it's a pretty good way to go about it.
So I got to ask you, what's a normal day like in the mortgage world for you?
Well, every day is different, and every loan officer runs their business a little different, but for me, I try to keep my day pretty structured so I can make the most out of my time and make sure I get everything accomplished that needs to get done. Usually when I get in the morning, we get this mortgage market guide, and I try and read it to stay up on the market, return any emails, prepare for meetings for the day. The bulk of my day is spent meeting with clients and talking to clients, whether it's updating them on how their refinance or how their purchase is going, or new clients, getting them pre-approved, and just meeting and getting to know one another. I also think I spend a lot of my time meeting with realtors. It's important to have that realtor-lender relationship, as I'm sure you know, because you deal with each other, and when someone's going through the process of purchasing a home, everybody, the whole transaction is really looked at as a whole. So if you were to refer a client to me, and if the transaction didn't go smoothly with me, that would reflect poorly on you because you were the one who suggested they use me. So it's really important to have a good relationship with realtors and spend time getting to know them and what their goals are for their business and how it aligns, how we can help each other out. So a lot of my time is just meeting and chatting with people, which I enjoy. So everything's different. It's very interesting.
And then we talked with Joe and Leanne earlier about their connections for being in the Greek system. You also were in the Greek system. How does that help? I just think the chance that we were there and connected with so many different people and made
Absolutely.
so many friends, that's the buying pool right now.
Absolutely. Well, where we're at in our life, a lot of people are getting married and having kids, and part of that is maybe buying a house, and so you know, we know so many people. It's such a small world, especially being in the Greek system and coming from Pullman, that it's really great to know somebody. That, you know, buying a home is such a personal decision and a personal transaction, and it's a big transaction, so you really want to work with somebody that you know and trust and have met before, even if you met at a frat party. But it's good, you know, to have that personal relationship to have as the backbone.
Excellent, excellent. So we got just a little bit more time for one more question here. So I'm going to ask you, people that are on the fence right now, that are looking to buy, you know, what advice do you have for them?
I would say to get pre-approved. If you're not sure if you want to buy a house, you know, you're not committed to anything, get pre-approved and see what you're qualified for. Because I think a lot of people think that they're comfortable spending a certain amount of money per month on a mortgage payment or rent or whatever they're doing, but get pre-approved.